let's get into this. Real Madrid narrowly get past Deportivo Alaves. Before we do dive in, if you haven't subscribed to the channel and you do enjoy the content, I do produce daily Real Madrid videos. This could be regarding the matches, could be regarding the players that we're linked to, or just my thoughts about something that might be on the horizon. And if you are into all things Real Madrid, definitely smash that subscribe button. Okay, let's dive in. So, Real Madrid narrowly came through last night, and there were a lot of positives, but there were a lot of negatives, and we're going to try and assess everything today. So, first and foremost, I thought that we picked up from where we left off in the previous game. We were very solid and very proactive, particularly in the first half. Our attacks were very good, our combination play was good, the build-up play was positive, and we had a lot of individual brilliance as well. Look at the first goal, Vinicius, absolutely cracking bit of play down the left-hand side, cuts it back, Lucas Vázquez, 1-0. It was a little bit like the last game where Vinicius came on and completely changed the trajectory of the game. The second one, even better, Mbappé, after having a goal disallowed, which again, narrowly offside, cracking finish, this goal was a work of art. Combined with Bellingham, played the 1-2, little back heel, spun the defender inside and scored. Amazing, amazing goal, and goes some way to getting the penalty haters off his back, I suppose. Bit of a negative one associated with Mbappé that we'll come on to shortly, but let's go for the third. So the third, Rodrigo's goal. This is what I want to see him do more, because it's not something that we're used to seeing, and it really could be. That first bit of electric pace to take him beyond the fullback, he needs to use that more often. Came inside, played the shot, across goal, goes through the keeper's legs. Incredible finish. Do more. More of the same, because we absolutely love that. So those are the positives. I thought that the team were fluid, and I thought that we created a lot of opportunities, just like in the previous game. And I'll say it again, this team will score goals. It is not a case that we are lacking in that department. It was always a case of, are we able to build a cohesive unit that's able to attack together, defend together? And that's what we're going to move into now. Because although there were lots of positives, and we were 3-0 up and absolutely cruising, this was also our downfall. Because 3-0 up and cruising leads to complacency, and there's one thing responsible for this: Atletico Madrid. So we've got Atletico on the weekend. It's a massive game. It's a tie that we struggled with a lot last season, so we know that we need to be ready for it. Ancelotti surprised everyone during this game against Deportivo Alaves, because he did not rotate to the degree that we thought he was going to rotate. That was arguably our first team yesterday, barring obviously Carvajal, who wasn't fit to play. He lined up really, really solid. No one expected Mbappé, for instance, to start the game. Everyone thought there'd be a little bit of rotation, and it wasn't the case. He lined up really, really strong, even though we had Atletico on the weekend. And this led to a couple of problems. Number one, Mbappé picked up an injury, and the reports are suggesting today that it's something to do with his hamstring. And whilst the indications are that he wants to play, it seems a little bit too risky, if I'm honest. And that's massive, because he's picking up some form, he's playing very, very well, and he's a weapon that could hurt Atletico Madrid, and now we might have to play them without him. So that's one that we might be having to deal with, unfortunately. The other thing is that because he started strong, the idea was kill off the opposition and ring the changes, and that's exactly what he did. He brought off all of the big guns. They all got a rest, and he brought on the second string. That might seem a little bit cruel, but that is the hierarchy of things at every club, and at the end of the day, you kind of know who your first 11 is, and if you don't know that, then you start to question the management. For instance, look at Ten Hag at Man United. It's very rare that United fans are able to say with concrete precision who their starting 11 is going to be, and that's a reflection on the manager, because the inevitable comment comes, well, how do we play? What do we want to achieve? Who's playing where? And if you haven't got those certainties, it becomes very difficult, particularly to prepare for the big games. Anyway, the second string came on the pitch, and we capitulated. We conceded 2 late goals, and it was a really nervy end to the game. it's very possible that they could have got the equaliser because they were pushing incredibly hard. If we analyse those goals, the word that screams out to me is complacency. The first goal is a lazy pass by Vasquez into the centre of the pitch in front of goal, just outside his own penalty box. That's suicide. You cannot be doing that. You play that ball, the opposition get hold of it, and as they did, one pass inside, left foot first time, amazing goal, yeah. Courtois was never getting to that, it was in the corner, but the opportunity doesn't happen if you don't play the risky ball into the centre. And he didn't need to. He could have played a pass round the side, he could have lumped it. It wouldn't have mattered in the slightest. Literally anything other than what he chose to do. The second goal. The second goal, I do blame Arda in the first instance, because in the first phase, Arda loses a 50-50 ball and he doesn't go back to get it. So he doesn't challenge, he doesn't put enough pressure on, and Deportivo Alaves, to their credit, are very, very quick in the transition and they move the ball immediately. They go straight to the forward, and Vallejo, who's just come on, doesn't see him. He clearly does not see him. He's behind him, he's not aware, and he hasn't got the pace to recover. He doesn't get tight to him, that's one. But even if you're not going to get tight, you block off the channel. He didn't do either. So it was an easy goal in the end, and a lot of people are very quick to scapegoat him as the reason for that. And I can see that to an extent, because at the end of the day, this is a really, really strange one. Okay, so first of all, Jesus Vallejo does not have the quality to play for Real Madrid. He didn't have the quality to start for Wolves in the Premier League when he had a stint there. And he's struggled at teams everywhere he's gone. He can't get a run in a side. His injuries are constantly apparent wherever he's been. And it's almost as if he's got this cult status at Real Madrid because he came on during that City game, the one where we came back a couple of years ago, the year that Benzema won the Ballon d'Or and we won the Champions League. And he came on into that game, and yes, he did everything. He did everything the manager asked him to. And it seems like since that moment, he has become cult hero status, can do no wrong. Well, yesterday he did wrong, because it's very, very clear that he does not have the requisite standard to play for Real Madrid. He doesn't. It's as simple as that. A lot of players don't. A lot of players are not good enough. I don't even think Alaba is good enough anymore. I'd have doubts about Militao. So Vallejo, I wouldn't want him anywhere near the first team. Having said that, needs must. Why? Because of poor planning, because of the fact that we don't have strength and depth in those positions. So we do need to rotate players. Players do need to rest. Look at what we've been doing in the last couple of games. Tchouaméni forced to play at centre-back. Dani Carvajal forced to play at centre-back. These were all foreseeable consequences of poor planning. And I understand it's part of the long-term plan to bring in a couple of superstars each summer, and if you keep going by that model, eventually you build your super team. And we're seeing the fruits of that. Bellingham one summer, Mbappé the next. These are incredible signings to make. No one's complaining about that. What we are complaining about is the projection, and we just have to trust, because it was very clear this summer that we were chasing Lenny Yoro. When we didn't get him, the doors closed. We were linked to other players, but nothing materialised. And there were reports throughout that process that all said the same thing. It was him or nothing. We're not going to go for someone that we perceive to be not good enough. And I agree with that 100%. But there has to be someone. There has to be a plan. Which is why we talk about the likes of Saliba and Christian Romero at Tottenham. Because they are people who will come in and you will see a huge difference to this side. I am convinced of that, because they will give you that defensive solidity that we currently don't have. If I really want to play devil's advocate, and if I really want to stick up for Jesus Vallejo, because I do think that he is getting a lot of stick here, it's the fact that, what do you expect? This is a player that never ever plays. He is glued to that bench. He never realistically expects to get any minutes at all. The Bernabeu last night chanting, ironically, for Carlo Ancelotti to ring the changes and bring him on. You would never do that. The only reason that you would do that is if you believed that that game was out of sight. If you thought, okay, we're 3-0 up and cruising, it doesn't matter what he does now, nothing's going to mess this up. Well, reality check, things did get messed up and quite badly, and it was almost horrendous. We almost threw it away. And I know it's a little bit dramatic, but if you're drawing that game, that's 3 draws in the league. Barcelona are not drawing games. Even if we beat them home and away, it might not be enough. They are destroying teams every single time that they play. We cannot be dropping this many points. So it does matter, and it matters for a lot. So if I really want to be devil's advocate, I'd say that he hasn't got the match minutes, he hasn't got the sharpness. What were you expecting? I could also say it's not completely his fault. Like I say, Arda in the first phase should have done better, should have challenged. The pass should have been cut off into the forward. It wasn't. So it's not completely his fault, but he does need to take responsibility. So I do believe that if we are analysing those goals, and it's a little bit more than that, it's the attitude, it's the shift in mentality, it's the fact that we rang all those changes and it was a cruel wake-up call to say the team that is now on the pitch is not good enough. Teams in this league will beat what we've got on the pitch in its current iteration. And it's true. Last night was evidence of that, and we were very lucky to escape. Positives we've gone over already. We talked about the goals, we talked about the sharpness, the combination play. I'm liking in particular the relationship between Bellingham, Mbappé, even Mbappé and Vinicius. They are combining very, very well, and I do think that's going under the radar a little bit. I also think that this team is so heavily reliant on Fede Valverde. He is everywhere. Like we've said a lot on this channel, he runs and runs and runs. And when he comes off the pitch, he was due a rest. He does not ever rest. He was due it, so fair enough, that's okay. But his absence is noticed, and I shudder to think what happens when he isn't able to play those games for us. So he needs to stay fit. We need to wrap him in cotton wool. Big game at the weekend, Atletico Madrid. This is a real test. Atletico haven't been fluid the start of this season. They've got a lot of new players. They are adjusting. They've signed very, very well, actually. I do like the players that they've signed. They signed one of the best marksmen in La Liga from last year. They signed Conor Gallagher from Chelsea, who is a very good player, played very well for Chelsea last season. And if you believe the rumours, the fact that Chelsea were willing to let him go, yes, it was to give them the 100% profit because he's an academy graduate, but believe the rumours, and it's likely the reason why Pochettino left the club. At least one of the contributing factors. But the point is, they've signed very well, they've got very exciting players, and it will be an extreme test for Real Madrid. Whether we can come through it depends on a couple of different things. Number one, have we got the players fit to line up a strong side? We're sweating on Mbappé now, because that one we're going to have to watch over the next few days. It doesn't look good. Not to say that he'll be out for a long time, but it's very foreseeable that he misses that game in particular. And would you really want to risk it if there's a danger of that? Personally, I wouldn't. But then maybe you ruin the league title as early as September. Well, I suppose it'd be October by that time. A lot to come away from this game, but I wasn't that impressed. I was impressed in the first half. The goals, fantastic, but the complacency that crept into the side is something that we need to be cautious of. And that second string, when they come on, need to do a hell of a lot better. What are your thoughts? Maybe you thought that what you were seeing yesterday wasn't quite good enough, wasn't up to scratch. What would you have done differently? Would you have rotated if you were Carlo Ancelotti? Does he deserve some of the blame? Or does he deserve praise for the way that he's integrating these players, because they are playing in a bit more of a fluid system? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you did enjoy this video, consider subscribing to the channel. Take care.